Welcome. In this video, we're going to review the Building Atoms lesson and take a look at how to fill in a table such as this one, where we can determine the number of protons, electrons, neutrons, mass number in an element. And in a set of problems like this, you're going to want to have your periodic table handy. And when you look at a periodic table, you'll see the various numbers on there. And there's going to be the element symbol in the middle. And the periodic table may or may not have the name of the elements on there. This one does. And the two important numbers on the periodic table are this top one and the bottom one. So that top number is the atomic number. It tells you how many protons are in an atom of that element. And then this bottom number here tells you the average atomic mass. So let's go through and try answering some of these questions. So let's look at this first one. If we have the element fluorine, the chemical symbol for fluorine is F. It's a way for us to become familiar with our periodic table. We can kind of look through those names. Here is fluorine right here. And it looks like fluorine has an atomic number of 9 and a mass number of 18.998. So let's fill those in. Sorry. So fluorine, we've got an atomic number of 9, average mass is 18.998, and the atomic number is equal to the number of protons. So if the atomic number is 9, that means we have 9 protons. And for these atoms that we're looking at, we're assuming that atoms are neutral, meaning they have no charge, which means the number of positive protons needs to equal the number of negative electrons. So the number of protons is going to equal the number of electrons. So I've got 9 protons, I've got 9 electrons. The mass number is the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. So the mass number is going to be this number plus this number. So 9 plus 10 is 19. All right. Let's do one where we don't know what the element is. Let's scroll down here and take a look at this one. What we know about this substance here is that it has 29 protons. So what we do is we can look at our periodic table and say if it's got 29 protons, it must have an atomic number of 29. It must also have 29 electrons. And if I look at my periodic table, what element has an atomic number 29? Well, this looks like copper. All right, so it looks like my element here is copper, so I'm going to fill that in. So this is copper. And then let's fill in the rest of it. So remember, our mass number is the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. So it's going to be 29 plus 36. And that is going to add up to 65. And then the average atomic mass I can find, it's on the bottom here, that is 63.546. 63.546. And the difference between these two values is the mass number is the mass of one particular atom of that type of element. The average atomic mass is the average mass of all the atoms of that element in the world. So sometimes the mass of one particular atom is close to the average, like this one, 184 and then 183.5. Those are pretty similar. Sometimes they're a little bit more different. And either way, that's okay. All right, so we can, if we know the element, we can figure out the atomic number, or if we know the atomic number, we can figure out what the element is. Let's look at another one. How about potassium? Potassium is the element K. I'm going to go over here, I'm going to look on the periodic table and find K. And K has an atomic number of 19. Here it is right here. So it's got an atomic number of 19. So the number of protons is equal to the atomic number, and that's going to be equal to the number of electrons. So the number of protons equal to the number of electrons, which is equal to the atomic number. All right, and then the neutrons, in this case, we are not given the neutrons, but we are given the mass number. So what we can do here is we can rearrange this equation, this mass number equation, to try and solve for the number of neutrons. So if the mass is the protons plus the neutrons, we can rearrange this and say the number of neutrons is the mass minus the number of protons. So the number of neutrons would be 39 minus 19. Looks like I have 20 neutrons. So notice how 19 plus 20 adds up to 39. Looks good. Okay. My average atomic mass is the number on the bottom. This looks like it's 39.09. All right. If we do one more like this, let's take a look at lead. Lead is the element Pb, and the atomic number of lead, it is over here. Here's lead. Its atomic number is 82. All right. So that means it also has 82 protons and 82 neutrons. And then the mass number is going to be 126 plus 82. And that gives you 208. And if you look at the average atomic mass, this one you find on the periodic table, it is right over there. It is 207.2. Okay. All right. Trying to think if there's any more that we could do. Let's do one more where we figure out neutrons. So let's look over here at tungsten. Tungsten is kind of a funny one. It's got the element symbol W, so not very intuitive, okay? So sometimes these element symbols make a lot of sense. Sometimes they're based upon the Latin name, and they don't seem to make much sense to us, like why is tungsten W? But it is, and it's got an atomic number of 74. Okay, so tungsten is W, atomic number of 74. That means it has 74 protons and 74 electrons. And the number of neutrons, the way you figure out neutrons is you're going to do the mass minus the number of protons. So it's going to be 184 minus 74. So it looks like that's 110 neutrons. So again, protons plus neutrons is going to add up to your mass number. All right, and that's a little review of finding various things like protons and neutrons and mass number.